we can go ahead and get started. Appreciate everyone that is able to join today. Special thanks to Katie from Design Foundry and Daniel from Lighting Professors for joining us today. We're really excited to showcase y'all's Goodshuffle Pro accounts. We're going to go through 3 different phases in the planning process today and get started by going through the kind of inventory management side, where Daniel's going to showcase the custom attributes that he uses for site and event planning. And then I am going to showcase a user, beautiful event rentals actually for custom tags for a better website experience. And then also a couple of different ways that her quotes are put together. And then Katie's going to close us out with, when it comes to executing an event, the use cases to create harmony between sales and the warehouse team using the fulfillment tab.
All right.
And tell us about how you are using some of the attributes in Goodshuffle to drive the decision making for your events.
Yeah, give me just a second here to get my screen ready. So yeah, as you mentioned, the attributes are an immensely powerful tool. So this is something that if you haven't been using that, like obviously the best time to be using any of the inventory management sort of tools is when you're entering your inventory at the beginning. But obviously, if you haven't done that to begin with, then doing it now is not too soon. I'm sure a lot of you have some downtime right now where you're just kind of figuring out what sorts of things you can do to prepare for when business starts up again, and going through and really making sure that your attributes are in line is something that you can do that's really easy and will give you a lot of information to help you to better plan your jobs. So one example is our chandeliers here, and you can see I have my titles with attributes, which if you don't use this, if you just have the titles, I highly recommend using the titles with attributes, because unless you have a whole lot of them, then it just gives you a nice brief overview of some of the most important information about each of your items in your inventory. So this is information that we like to have at a glance: the bulb count, the bulb types, and then the weight as well. So each of these is useful in their own way. And if I just click into this, then we can get a little bit of a closer look at the screen that you will use to enter this information in. You can just see you have the value right there for each of these. And this is helpful in a couple of different ways. So obviously, it's just nice to have that information available to you at a glance. Anytime you are able to easily see all the information about your inventory, that's going to help you out. But for these 3 in particular, why we chose them is for making the job planning easier, as well as the sort of like checks on ourselves when we are out actually on the job site. You can see that for all 3 of these, I made them internal attributes because it's not really stuff that the client's going to be too concerned about for the clients that we have. But I also made them available on the pull sheets. So with things like bulb counts and the bulb type, even though I've made custom relations for each of these to automatically include the right bulb type with the right bulb number as a required accessory, just in case for whatever reason I did that wrong, or with however it gets added in, something like that gets missed. If it's on the pull sheet, then day of, when people are loading stuff in, if they notice that, oh, hey, we only have 7 bulbs on the pull sheet, but this one clearly says that it has 9 that it needs, and they can see that and readily know that they should go ahead and add in a couple more to make sure that there's the right number when they get out there. And then the weight is one that's really helpful, especially when we are planning things with the client, with the florist, and with our production team. With the client, it's just good to kind of know what options we can even offer them. So let's say we have someone who wants to do a tent wedding. And, tent weddings are beautiful, but they also sometimes limit the sorts of rigging options that we have. So if they have a pole tent that only has the poles in the middle, then that's going to limit the sorts of rigging options that we have. Whereas if there's more poles available, maybe we can make a more sturdy structure. But let's say that it was something where we could only use aircraft cable to hang our chandeliers from. So that's going to limit the weight of chandeliers that we can use. If you have not gotten accustomed with the custom columns, then I would definitely recommend going in here and just seeing what sorts of options you have available. But for right now, I'll just go ahead and show you in here. We can click on weight. And then over here, oops, let's see. So weight's over there. I'm actually going to go ahead and make it even easier on us and put it as the very first category, since that's the first thing that we want to see right now. And then we'll use the arrow right there to just go ahead and sort it so that it is from lowest to highest. And this way I can see, let's say that the cutoff for me was anything over 20 pounds, I don't even want to look at. Then this makes it so that I can easily just see, okay, these are the realistic options right here. And then anything below here, I don't even want to look at. Now, I find it easier to just do it like that, to sort them and then only look at the ones you want to look at. But if you ever want to filter and make it so that you literally can't see the other ones, you can also go in here and just check on all the ones that you want and then leave all the ones that you don't want unchecked. One other thing that I wanted to point out with how we use the attributes is you can see that for the Chelsea chandeliers, it has needs to be weighed right here. And obviously that's not super helpful information in terms of like figuring out whether or not we can use it or not, but it is a great reminder that, oh, hey, if we have some downtime and we have a little bit of time where we can weigh this thing, that's something that would be a priority. So by putting it in that category, it makes it so that it's front and center and we're like reminded of that every time we see this item. You can also see for the bulb count and bulb type, they don't have any bulbs. They're more just like decorative pieces. So I put NA in both of those. And that's just as a way to sort of like reassure people that I didn't forget to put that category in or that attribute in. It's just that that attribute is not relevant. So even though it is a chandelier, it does not have the bulbs and therefore doesn't have bulb type or bulb count. So that's really the sort of like use case for the attributes in terms of how we use them for chandeliers. Obviously, the way you're going to use them is going to range wildly depending on what your particular purpose is. But that is a good place to start off, I guess. Does anyone have any questions so far about attributes, like how we're using them or how you might be able to use them yourself?
Thanks so much for sharing that information. Really, really appreciate it. Beautiful Event Rentals is a company that specializes in lounge furniture. Cami is awesome and has done a great job at not only stylizing her lounges, but creating really consistent experiences for the client. So we chatted previous to this and identified a few projects to show where this information can really be translated to create a seamless experience for your clients. So Beautiful Event Rentals, they obviously have the Goodshuffle Pro website wish list integration here. And as you can see, this has been stylized to fit exactly the Beautiful Event Rentals brand. All of the little plus signs here, everything from the clipboard, the fonts, the colors, all matches her website so that it's truly her look and feel. Our goal in creating this really easy to implement tool is still allowing you the flexibility to make it look like it's a part of your website, it's a part of your brand, so that not every Goodshuffle customer has the same exact website. She's also done a really good job at providing clarity to the clients of, hey, here's what this is going to look like set up. But when I'm clicking on these lounges, I can get more information here on the lounges themselves. And I can even click on some of these where she has the package contents available. So it's very clear based on the stylized photo what exactly is coming in these lounges. That translates very nicely to the actual experience that her clients get when these become a quote in the Goodshuffle Pro system. So like Daniel, Cami and her team have made use of attributes. In this case, though, they are client facing. This is really good information to let the clients know, especially if they're working, with a venue or through a planner where the client would be sharing this information, to know the different sizes of these items or the primary colors. You can see this particular lounge is something that was pre-stylized, that Cami has the overall, again, here's what everything looks like set up, but then providing that clarity of everything that is included in that package. A couple of other examples that I wanted to show you is how she's used the line item groups to break up where things are going on the event site. And this is done in a couple of different ways, right? Depending on the client's needs, the line item groups are super flexible. So for this particular event here, right, she's got her items for the dining chairs versus what is going on stage. And what I love here is she's even personalized, here's my team that's going to be showing up on site, providing that installation and retrieval, and giving really that experience to the client of that consistent brand, that consistent look, that consistent feel. Another example that we'll go through real quickly is the line item groups for where she has detailed this out based on the types of pieces, right? Here's what's going on the bars and stage, but this time bundling all of the acrylic pieces together because that made more sense to her client. The client wanted to see these grouped differently rather than just grouping items based on the location. The last use case that I was going to show is the lounges where she's detailed out exactly what everything costs. So you can always pre-package your items or even create custom packages on the fly where you just have one price for a grouping of items. There are some clients where it makes more sense to detail out what every item costs, which is what she's done with this particular quote. She's still providing great detail here, beautiful images of each of her different pieces. But that additional level of clarity is coming in by providing each unique price. And then in this case, she's used each of the line item groups. Here were the items for the gentleman's lounge versus the gaming lounge, etc. Again, she's done such an incredible job at creating a consistent branded experience for her clients from start to finish. Now it comes time to actually pull the event off. And so I'm going to flip it over to Katie, who's going to talk about the Design Foundry experience and how you guys are using the fulfillment tab to really excel in the execution of your events.
Great. So how we use the fulfillment side is when our sales team has sold an event, we kind of start the production side of our events. So a lot of our packages and a lot of our contracts are for custom pieces. So once we have a signed contract, our production and shop go into the fulfillment side and kind of start looking through what has been contracted with our clients. And how they kind of communicate to our sales team is by using the notes section of the fulfillment side. So in this project, on our contract side, the client goes and sees the archway entrance and lobby, and then we detail what pieces kind of go into that for the client. So under the notes section, this is where our production team will kind of ask questions to our sales team or flag things that they want to follow up with the salesperson on. And then our shop will go through and indicate things that need to be customized or painted. So we kind of use these notes section in a number of different ways, and so that people can go to one source to find the answers to the questions that we have. Another element that we use in the notes section is our purchases. So when things are purchased, we go down and leave notes as to where the items were purchased and when they're supposed to be arriving to our warehouse. And then also if anything has to be added or done to the item that has been purchased. So that's kind of the first step of our notes section for the fulfillment side. And then what we do is we have a production meeting. So we pull in our production team, our shops, and our salesperson and kind of go through our list of items. And in that, we are able to hit all of the notes as we're going down our list. And then also if we have other notes that we need to add in, it gives us a way to communicate with each other, even if someone misses a meeting for some reason, or if someone wants to follow up to a question that was asked in a previous meeting. It gives us an opportunity to document where we all are on the same page. And then after a meeting, if somebody can't remember what was said, they can always follow up and have a resource that they can use. The notes is also a great way to kind of go and double check our work. Our warehouse will be able to go in and look at things, and as they're pulling items, they're able to kind of be a double check to some of the items. So if something was supposed to come in, say these 2 Amazon purchases, if those items were supposed to be in, it's a way that we can double check, and if they're not in, we can follow up as to what day they were expected to arrive. And then kind of the final thing that we use the note section for is create new inventory. We create it as an inventory item after the event. So this is a way that we indicate what needs to be added to the inventory after the event has happened and is back into our warehouse post-event. So you can kind of see a number of items are marked as new inventory items, and it's just a way to help kind of maintain and control or keep up to date with what needs to be done to items after the event happens. So that's kind of how we use our notes section. And how we can use it to communicate to each other, even if we're not in the same space or same room. But it's a great resource that we have really beefed up on the past couple months, so that we all kind of have an idea of what's happening, even if the salesperson changes something or needs to alter something. It is a great way for us to all be on the same page.
I love that, Katie. And the other thing that I was going to point out that I think you guys do a great job of is there's a big difference between what the client sees and what your warehouse and production team see, right? So for those who see on Katie's screen, the specialty 8-foot bar, that has a lock next to it. That means no one on the production side or warehouse side can make changes to that particular item because it's something that the client has already seen. But the warehouse and production teams have gone into the inventory and been able to add all of these things, all of these items, whether they've been ordered from Amazon or they're being custom fabricated, to track all the things that will ultimately go on the pull list before it goes to the event site. And the one thing I was going to ask you to do is, will you want to click into maybe the 10-inch long frame post, or any of your kind of like warehouse shots of those inventory pieces? One of the things, you can click just on the photo itself from, yeah, perfect, just to bring it up. Yep, perfect. What I wanted to flag is, I think folks get very caught up when they're managing their inventory of creating the perfect stylized photo for each of their inventory items. And that is certainly necessary, or preferred, I guess, for when you have client-facing things. But it looked like when I was going through this particular project that there were ways that you were capturing some of your inventory pieces just so the internal team had enough information to know what something looked like without having to get hung up on the perfect photo.
Yes, and a lot of our items, so for a lot of our custom build items, we indicate every piece that goes into building that item. So a lot of times, like this 10-foot long atom beam, it's not necessarily, we always indicate it on our pull sheet so that we know exactly what pieces are going into the truck. But a lot of times, like our warehouse team is not the ones constructing it, right? It's a separate team. So this at least gives them an indication of what that piece will look like. And the clients don't need to see that piece. So we will hide that element from the client view, but it helps our warehouse make sure that they know that they're pulling the right thing, that it is, they have all the different elements that go into making that one custom piece for our clients.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Katie, for showing that off. Really appreciate your insights here. As we're kind of coming to the close, we've talked about the front end experience with managing your inventory. Daniel gave some great insights there. I touched on the end client experience through Beautiful Event Rentals, and then Katie has touched on the back end fulfillment side.